Welcome back, Savage here. In today's video, we're going to be covering the first video in my improvement series, which we're going to be covering zoners, which is kind of like a new archetype for me, considering like my main archetype is like rush down setup characters. But I do have extensive knowledge on zoners, like through the many years I faced them, you know what I mean? Not to mention I played Injustice 2, which is like a zoner's wet dream. So you got to know them you got to know them to beat them, you know what I'm saying? So let's cover the bases of like a zoner. So like, what is a zoner? A zoner are characters that seek to fight an opponent as far away from them as possible. Like you want to irritate your opponent from literally the opposite side of the screen. Employing the use of your projectiles, long pokes rather than like combos or close range combat. Zone is all about like controlling the space, you know, different types of projectiles to force the opponent into like a disadvantage. So let's cover a couple of the Axel's buttons. We got 2P, decent range. It's a low, so this is good for like checking enemies dash-ins. So if your opponent want to keep dashing in, you just check their ankles. It's a good pestering tool to gauge what your enemy is going to do, so throw that out. Maybe they might dash in again, or maybe they might jump and do an air dash attack. It's just good for pestering your enemy. It's a good tool to prime your enemy too. So once you keep cracking their ankles, eventually they're just gonna keep like, they're gonna dash in, but they're gonna automatically crouch block, just out of the anticipation of you throwing out this move. And plus, if you land it, got full screen, so it was a good move to throw out in the neutral. Not only that, like I said, once you prime your enemy to do crouch block, you can really start messing with them. Like for instance, yeah, they'll start doing that. Then you want to dash in, get the grab in, or you could do something like that. Those are usually the two things I like to do, but either one works. You just kind of want to, you know, get the opponent in a habit of just crouch blocking. That way you can start messing with them. Next up we got is 2H, so a little bit more distance than 2P. The benefit comes as you can see, the counter hit. You can counter hit the opponent, either get some Oki or maintain distance. Either one, depending on which opponent you're fighting, which character they're using, whether it's beneficial to keep them full range or you want to have them up close. This button is good in the neutral for like, you know, players who are just like antsy to get in. So you might have a player try to run up and do their long range attack, you just get the counter hit. But it's a good way to fish out for the counter hit, you know, pestering your opponent. Then they try to run in with their long range attack, clip them with the 2H. But overall, I like using 2P over 2H. I think it's just a better tool in the neutral. All right, so next we got 5P. It's good for keeping out your opponent, but it is susceptible to like crouch attacks, so kind of want to be careful when you're throwing this out in the neutral, because your opponent can just low profile it. Not only that, I think their dashes just go right under it. All the way until they get up top. So yeah, their dash should just go right under it. It's not really useful. Mostly on the ground, it's not really useful. It can clip somebody if they're doing like a standing attack, so that's good. If you anticipate your enemy gonna do an attack from far range, you can throw out the 5P. Not only that, is good for like catching people who are like running up and jumping. Save it. So you can clip them that way, but overall with the when it comes to like ground play, you want to use 2P and 2H. Next up we got K6. Useful for players who like trying to empty jump. It's not really a button I use too often in the neutral, but it's good for like at these ranges, because this the range where opponents they were try to bait out your 2S with like an empty hop. So they'll do that. You do your 2S, they'll do a low attack, or they'll use that opportunity to get in. So that's where that button comes in handy. And even if they block it, it still leaves them at a considerable distance. But in this case, I like using 5p over 6k, not only because it got the same function, but you could also charge your sickle flash. You know, it's hard to do that when you do k6 and then trying to charge it up. I know some people do it, I can't do it. But you can use 5p and then charge your sickle flash. So in those type of situations, I'll just use like 5p. Okay, next we got his 2S, arguably the best anti-air in the game. Like I said, you want to pester your opponent, get them to the point where they feel like they need to do a air dash, get the punish, full screen. You can either go for like a command grab after this point. Oh, I did it too soon. Go for a command grab. Yeah, but basically you want to punish people's air dash attacks. Once that happens, they got to start from square one. You know what I'm saying? They're full screen again, and they got to work their way back in. Next we got his jump S and his jump P. You just want to use these to gain distance. So depending on what your opponent does. So if you're doing an air dash back and they jump up, you throw out that move, and if they dash on the ground, you throw out that move. But that's all I'm going to talk about Axel's buttons. It's not really an Axel guide. It's more or less, you know, how to play as a zoner. So in closing, you want to use your space between you and your opponent. You want to use this space as pretty much like real estate. If they want to get in this, they got to pay. You tax that bitch. They want to occupy this space, you tax them. You know what I'm saying? You want to use your angles to irritate your opponent. You want them to open up their defenses and force them to make a mistake, because they can't just sit back the whole game. They got to work their way in. So eventually your opponent will make a mistake, and once they make that mistake, you punish them, put them back at full screen. Now they got to work their way back in. It's kind of like a bridge. Once they cross the bridge, they got to pay a toll. And if they need to come back across the bridge, they gotta pay a toll again. So that's pretty much what you want to do as a zoner. Yeah, you just want to punish your opponent. Like I said, if I give you a last piece of advice, you don't need to throw out a button every chance you can get. The difference is, right, your opponent is reacting to your attacks, but you're reacting to your opponent's movements. So if you're throwing a button out, how you gonna see if you're gonna like go for like a air dash, you know? So it's okay to give up a little ground to see what your opponent's gonna do, and once they do that, you just punish them and keep them back at full screen. So now we're gonna move on to some online matches, and I'm gonna break it down in game. And you're gonna see what we do in match. Already not watching the totals when we get in the match. Yeah. Patience. This is what I was talking about. You need patience. Now we're back at full screen. Lift. Damn, 5p lift. Full screen. So we using the 2p to trip him up, get him full screen, throw out the sickle flash. Sickle flash. He has to block that. Trip his feet up, sickle flash. I wanted to see what he was gonna do. 2p, yes. Bastard messed me up by whiffing. Lift. You whiffed the vortex. So we're just using our space to irritate him. So yeah, we're just gonna keep using our space to irritate the opponent. Counter hit with the 2H. Give him for the command grab. I would have used 2S, but I wasn't sure how close he was. I didn't think he was gonna land close enough. I was gonna keep grabbing too. Yep. It's getting irritated. Book of DP. Whiffed it. Oh, he hopped over the sickle flash after the 2H. Next time I'm gonna throw the sickle flash out. I'm not gonna do nothing. I'm gonna wait to see if he do like an air dash or something. Got the air dash. Command grab. He's doing his jumpings way too early. Damn, I'm at the 5P. I got 6P. Sickle flash. You can't gunflame sickle flash. Alright, now this match is a little weird because I consider Bridget like a keep away character too. But she don't got as much range as Axel. Bursting off the bat. Beating up my 2S. That's exactly what I was talking about, beating up the 2S. I'm trying to get her to jump. I don't want to fight Bridget on the ground. Like, her buttons is way better on the ground. Approach the bottom bar.
Slap. Duel 2. Let's rock.
Doing your jumping way too early. The 2S. I probably should have went for 2S right there, but I wasn't sure. Got crossed up. I button mash, but it worked in the end. Sometimes you got button mash. Now hopefully this round she show a little bit more respect. There we go. That's what I want. I want to see the opponent crouch blocking. Oh, she made a mistake. Snail? Yep, she button mashed. Think I was going in for another grab.
Let's rock.
Hand grab. Yes. I love that move, bro. The snail was just like the best. It literally beat all wake up options, bro. Like, okay. But yeah, that's it for today's video, man. I hope y'all enjoyed. Hit that like button if y'all enjoyed this. Let me know if you learned something in the comments. And let me know what you want to see next. You know what I'm saying? With all that being said, man, I'm going to see y'all in the next video. Peace.